and other of the Ascended Masters and Archangels. And I want to say thank you and welcome to all of my new subscribers and to everyone who isn't new, who keeps coming back. I always love and appreciate you guys so much, and I love reading your comments and interacting with you and keeping up with what's happening. And of course, my clients, I'm always grateful to all of you for sharing your stories with me and for trusting me to go through the healing that we do together. And I'm going to go over a little bit of what goes on in sessions with me when we go through your chart, which we do together for about an hour, usually more. Typically, we go over, but I record the two of us going through the chart and talking about different things that you've gone through in your life and maybe how that relates back to a past life scenario or other timeline scenario. And then when we finish doing the work, and really, I like to focus a lot. I mean, it's important for us to have healing work done, but when I've had clients who had just overwhelming things happening with them, and I said to Metatron, like, what am I, how, what? Metatron always says, it's important for people to have hope and to know that they have a purpose for being here. And so I find like that is the most important part of going through the natal chart and doing the healing in order to get you there. So that's what we do. In the first hour, we go through the whole chart. We remove the stories because that's the way it works with Metatron. When you remove the stories, you remove the implants, the energetics, the possessionals, everything that goes with the story, the DNA changes are made in the physical body, and then all of the energies, the energetic body, the subtle bodies, we also remove the stories from them as well. So, and a lot of people, when they can see through their third eye, will say, like, oh, they see the angels doing this or doing that, and doing the work. Anyway, so that's what happens in sessions with me, and the follow-ups that we do for about 30 minutes, typically over a little bit. But the 30-minute sessions, we go back and look at other timelines or past lives. I hold space for you while you see what's going on. I don't tell people unless they need a little bit of help. Usually, if I give people a hint of a scene, then they are able to get there and then they can tell me what's going on. And so that's the way that I work and with Metatron in doing sessions. All of my information is in the description box below if you'd like to book a session with me. And I did start the Patreon channel. Only got to doing one tier. I'm going to try to get the rest of that done before this video goes up. But I did not get the class edited. I spent last week, I went to 2 different states last week and I just didn't have time. My son graduated from college, so I had a lot of fun out in Colorado. We had a lot of family there and it was really nice. I got to see people I hadn't seen for a long time. And we had a snowstorm happen during the graduation ceremony, which was interesting. I mean, it was great for them because through the whole graduation ceremony, you could see the snowballs going, and they made the New York Post ran the story. I know a few other news outlets picked up the story, so that was exciting for them that they were out on the field, and they didn't call names. We didn't have to sit through the 4 hour ceremony. They just graduated like arts and sciences. You're graduated. Like that's how they ran the. Honestly, that's the way they should do all graduations, if you ask me, because it only took like an hour and a half instead of 4 hours. But it was an hour and a half watching the snowballs fly, and just it was a lot of fun. It's a good time. I love going to college towns. So we're going to talk today about the full moon in Scorpio. So let's talk about Scorpio first. Scorpio is the most intense and the most powerful sign, and ruled by Pluto and the ancient ruler Mars. And Scorpio is a water sign, and it's the deep, dark water, deep sea diving water, or the bottom of the murky swamp where all the nutrients are at the bottom, the richness of Pluto. And it's an extremely intense sign. So, and when we have a full moon anyway, the moon rules emotion. And when the moon is full, then that's when things usually are coming up to be for an emotional release, or to be like exercised somehow, like come out to the light, brought to the light, and let go of. And we release and let go. And there's going to be a lot of releasing and a lot of letting go. I'm making this video on the 14th. It will most likely be up on the 15th. And we're already going to be in the energy. We are now while I'm making this. So the full moon is May 18th at 4:11 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10:11 p.m. in the United Kingdom. So you could just adjust for your time zone. So we have an 11, the master number. And also the moon is at 27 degrees and 38 minutes. So a 9 and 11, also an 11. And so I'm interested to see what kind of stuff is going to go down. When I asked for a vision of what was coming, or what what he would like to show me, Metatron, I saw the lightning coming and hitting something, and it cracked it open. I felt like this wasn't an actual event, but it opened it up. So I believe something's going to come in and open up something that maybe we are all waiting to see the contents of that box, or find out what's inside whatever is being opened. It also, when I asked then the creator for the vision, I saw, you remember when Jesus died on the cross and the Holy of Holies had been separated? There was a curtain that separated people from the Holy of Holies. Only the high priests were allowed to go into the Holy of Holies and feel the energy of God in there with the Ark of the Covenant. But then when Jesus died, or this is how it's written, the curtain in the Holy of Holies tore all the way down. That's what I saw, was the curtain tearing all the way down. And it's interesting because when this full moon was seeded, the asteroid named Heimdall, which means the guard of the bridge between heaven and earth, was on a fixed star named Polis. And Polis carries the energy of like Regulus, like it's like a royal figure, but in the church. Some kind of religious leader who is on a pedestal, okay, is like adored and worshipped and put on the pedestal. That's the energy of that fixed star. And when this new moon was seated, Heimdall was on that fixed star. And now when the full moon comes, Folis, which is carries the energy of like what comes back to bite us in the ass kind of story, that is actually going to be at that degree during this full moon. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the secrets coming out relate to the church or leadership of the church. Scorpio rules wealth. It rules worth, like our own self-worth, our feelings of worthiness, how others treat us, the way that others reflect to us what we believe we're worthy of. It rules secrets. It rules sexual intimacy. And don't forget that, so the moon and Mars, the ancient ruler of Scorpio, are in mutual reception at the time of the moon, and the moon rules intimacy as well. So this is going to be like things that are like deep within us coming up to be looked at with these energies, and a release. I also noticed today that there was an incident off the coast of the United Arab Emirates between Iran and the United States, and that's indicative of these energies as well, because Mars is war, weapons, and then the moon, water. So I found that I thought that was pretty interesting. Not that there would be a war, but what did happen fits in with the astrology of the full moon. So let's hope that it it stops there. I'm not really getting anything about, I don't believe we're going to war with Iran or anything like that. But I thought that was interesting. Also, throughout the month of May, Saturn will be at the exact same degree as the South Node. The South Node is what's from the past, or something that we're moving away from. We don't want to be moving toward our South Node. We want to move toward the North Node, which is in Cancer, and a feeling of security. And Saturn is like the establishment, okay? And you can say government, church, it's the establishment. Saturn with the South Node, that's going on all the way through until middle of September 17th, 18th. But Saturn at the same degree as the South Node is going on until the end of May. And so that's really where we can be seeing authorities maybe, trying to like pump themselves up, like I'm so powerful. Let's see, look at how big and bad I am, making like empty threats or just blowing a lot of hot air. That's possible, especially because we're moving into right after this full moon, that Jupiter Neptune square will begin moving more to an exact aspect again. And so that's a lot of exaggeration, or where somebody can really be a blowhard. So we'll see what happens, but I thought that was really interesting. I also noticed, and I wanted to bring this up too, about the weather that we're having on the planet. But I saw before I did the video that my email was full of geomagnetic storm alerts. We've had so many geomagnetic storms today. They even went up to a K7, and getting to a K1 isn't typical. So if you want to sign up for those alerts, it's NOAA. And I'll put the link in the description box for, how to find out if there's geomagnetic storms coming, because I know a lot of people are affected by those. I'm not affected by them so much anymore, but before I got into this and really got myself cleared out, they bothered me a lot. So, but the storms and the intensity of the storms, that relates to Uranus and Taurus, and it also relates to the North Node in Cancer. Because in the mundane chart, the fourth house is climate change. And Mars on the 17th of May is going to move into Cancer as well. So I would say, and that's about 7 weeks. So it's going to be for most of the summer that we could be dealing with intense storms and things of climate change. Now, I haven't seen anything specifically. Right now I'm seeing water. So, and I'm seeing it in a form of rain. So, but, and I know that a lot of us have had really weird weather. And my friend in northern Italy I don't think they had snow at all, which is not normal. And then this past few weeks, they've had snow twice. And they've gone back to November weather. When they've been in spring, they went into spring weather way sooner than normal. And then now they're dealing with, having cold weather again. So all of us are having, I've been sitting in a snowstorm. The University of Colorado in Boulder always has a graduation outside. It never snowed before. So all of us, and we've had 2 snowstorms here in the past 4 weeks too. So it's very strange. But so we'll be paying attention to what's going on with Mars going through Cancer. He's out of bounds until the middle of June. And he's going to be in Cancer when he comes back in bounds. But I think he may be, probably, that'll be before he opposes Saturn and Pluto. So that's good. But yeah, when Mars is out of bounds and, he's the ancient ruler of Scorpio, he's in the moon sign as the moon is in the end degrees of Scorpio, the most intense, powerful, brooding sign that we have. It's a lot of emotion, and it's a lot of deep emotion and things that maybe we've had buried in the subconscious, or things maybe that we didn't even experience in this lifetime that could be coming up to be dealt with. And so really, giving yourself time to have an emotional release, a cleansing, is what Metatron is saying. If you can, if you're able to, if you have access to a body of water, and if not, a bathtub, that's a great way to transmute these energies. A nice bath, and let yourself have that emotional release. And I'm being shown men doing that right now, not the whole bathtub scene, but that's what I saw. So yeah, I want the men to have that too. I think really men don't have emotional release nearly as much as they could. And so yeah, it's important to do that, because otherwise it just cuts us off from everything, because it all builds up in our heart space, and then we can't feel anything else there. And then, yeah, on the 16th of May, Venus is going to move into Taurus. And so they gave me this a couple of weeks ago. How do you spend your value, your time, your money, and your affection? Who are you spending that on? And who is spending that on you? Who is filling up what you're depleting while you're spending yourself on other people? Who is bringing that back to you? Okay. So Venus and Taurus, we're going to be, and then full moon in Scorpio, that's going to be coming up for everybody for the next 4 or 5 weeks now. And if you are spending all of your time and your attention, your affection on your, work, your spouse, your children, who is filling that back up then? Hopefully, if it's work, we're getting that through the joy that we find through doing our work, or the financial compensation, at least, that we have in the paycheck. And if it's our spouse, hopefully they're giving back to us. If it's our children, then that's something that, we want to work on filling it back up for ourselves, because otherwise we're depleted. I hear so many people now talking about how tired, and I am too. I'm tired too. And I know that it's just something in the air because of how much my daughter with special needs is sleeping. And I do think that we're adapting to all of the upgrades that we were given. But also when your energy is low, it's because you're giving it to other people and you're not getting it back in the same way. And so there's going to be a lot of that coming up, a lot of issues of equality and equal give and take, and making sure that you're treated as worthy and valuable and cherished as much as you are cherishing those around you. So, yeah, that's up for review coming up here over this next period, like about 5-6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And at the time of the full moon, Uranus and Venus are at the exact same degree in Taurus. Uranus is like sudden change, disruption, what breaks us free of karma, and the breaker of chains, the real breaker of chains. And Venus is love and relationships, value. It's also money, resources. And so when those are together at the time of the full moon, that Pluto is ruling and wants to know what things are worth. Things could come up about money again, but I believe this is going to play out a lot in relationships again. Also, with these energies, there's actually nice aspects, and I'm not going to go too much into the details of all of it, but it does look like there's potential for twin flame union, physical union to come about. And yeah, that it actually looks, this is the first chart I've seen in a long time where it looks hopeful for that coming up here. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen like right off the bat or that day, but the potential is definitely there. Now, when Uranus and Venus come together, you may want to wait a couple, 2-3 days until after that passes. If you want to come forward to someone and let them know that that you have affection for them, because you don't know really how that energy is going to play with all of this happening, especially with the full moon there. The moon will move very shortly after the full moon. The moon will be in Sagittarius, so just give it a day or so before any kind of revelations like that, probably 2 days before you make any announcements about that. And I started this like 3 times, and I keep getting interrupted while I'm recording. And so I'm I don't want to be repeating what I said, but, oh yeah. So then on the 17th, when Mars will move into Cancer for about 7 weeks, which we talked about, and we talked about, how that could affect as far as storms and climate change events. But I also want everybody to know that is going to be like deep emotions, okay, coming to the surface. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and that's his favorite place to be. Even, including Aries and Scorpio, that's his favorite place to be. And the opposite of where a planet is exalted is their least favorite place to be. And Cancer opposes Capricorn. And so as Mars is going through Cancer, which wants to feel secure and safe and, held and likes privacy, Mars is going through there and kind of doesn't like it, doesn't like traveling through Cancer. He's ruled by the moon, which is the soft, the feminine, and emotions, and Mars doesn't have a whole lot to do with that. Now, that being said, Mars in Cancer, like especially the full moon, if you have someone to have sex with, that would be a great way to spend this energy. And Mars in Cancer too can be like that smoldering kind of energy. So nothing wrong with that. But it can also just be where our emotions maybe don't feel so safe, and can bring up like a lot of insecurities for everybody. So I wanted to make sure to mention that. And then on the 22nd of May, Mercury will move into his home of Gemini. So zippity doo-dah. That'll be a breath of fresh air for sure. Once Mercury finally gets into Gemini, and that's on May 22nd. Mercury travels about the same rate, length, about the same rate of speed as the sun through a constellation. And then once we get finished with the full moon, we've got that Jupiter and Neptune square coming up, like I said, where there can be an energy of maybe overdoing or exaggerating, that false prophet, zealot kind of energy. The happening also, though, potential for unlimited magical happenings, and a lot of hope in that energy, and optimism too. So, okay. I'm wondering if I mentioned something about a fixed star, because I don't want to repeat the whole thing again if I already did. But yeah, it looks like there is a lot of potential of dreams coming up, because Scorpio rules like the deep recesses of the mind and the subconscious and the hidden. And with full moons anyway, there's always a potential of things coming to you in dream time. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of things come forward in dreams during these full moon energies. Just kind of be watching out for that. Maybe keep a notebook by your bed. It helps if you jot it down right away, even if it's just a few things that you remember, because that'll help that memory to, you'll be able to access it more easily that way if you have it written down somewhere. And then, yeah, I pulled cards with Metatron. So if this is too long for you and you don't want to hear the cards, then I will see you in a couple weeks. And for everybody else, we're going to look through the cards. So this is the Magical Dimensions Oracle Cards and Activators by Lightstar. And I'll put that in the description box. So the first card that we have is Destiny. Divine purpose, passions, service. It's time. You are being called to your higher purpose and destiny path. Get in touch with your passions. Your work involves important service to humanity. This is not a time for waiting. It's action time. Call forth joy and passion to fulfill your life's purpose. And if you don't know what that is yet, now is the time to explore. Call upon the elemental and fairy energies to help you share your innate gifts with the world. Destiny resonates to loving and purposeful service of the soul. The expression of joy and passion is released into awareness and takes flight as the soul becomes activated to its highest path and true divine purpose. It is now time to fully embrace the multidimensional self in its beautiful expression of loving service. A soul's specific mission is a wondrous journey, and this empowering ray supports revelation and courageousness of spirit. So this is the ray of Forest Rose, which looks like a deep pink. It looks like Mary Magdalene's color to me. This full moon is on the Sabian symbol for this full moon is about the king of the fairies returning home. So it's another heads up to the fairies and the elementals. And that's really important right now. We're getting in touch, our connection to the earth and being grounded, because we can't bring what we'd like to see to fruition on the planet if we're ungrounded, if we're always like out there and thinking about, and this and trying to figure this out. And, it doesn't help anything. It doesn't help you to grow. It doesn't open your psychic, gifts at all. It doesn't enhance them. It just is kind of like perpetuating this. It's like a stall tactic, really, because until we, bring it down into the earth and we're grounded, and it can't manifest. It's just something that we're talking about and we're stuck up there in the ethers. But destiny, it's like there are some things that we are going to do while we're here that are like, we've already agreed with the soul family. We have contracts to cover our tracks to make sure that these things get done, and they're going to happen. No one can really say exactly when, which is why I don't do predictive astrology, and most astrologers now move very far away from that, because we believe in free will. And destiny is like when your passion hooks up with fate, with what was preordained before you got here that was going to happen. Okay, so he's talking to this being a time of destiny. And that's Saturn with the South Node and Pluto there too, and Capricorn. That's the Judgment card. So, destiny. And then we have Reflective Truth. Gemini. Reminds me of Gemini with the twins. And then the butterflies being the air sign. Reflective Truth. You may be experiencing a delicate, vulnerable period of reevaluation. It may even feel like an identity crisis is occurring as you ask the question, who am I? It signifies a time to become immersed in discovery of the truth of you and fall in love with whatever you discover. The amount of self-love you have will be key in this situation. You are asked to embrace your situation with full compassion and love. Reflective truth resonates to innocence and divine truth. When souls are faced with the mirror of truth, it is only truth that will be reflected back. This unveiling ray allows the soul to understand all aspects of itself, either in full revelation or by incremental visions. By the innocence of this enticing ray, the self-realized soul can embrace the magic and love of itself and gain the courage to embrace all its innate power all its innate power and multi-dimensionality. You know, a lot of times when I do sessions with people, it's that they've hidden the truth of themselves from themselves, but it's never in a bad way. It's in the way that they've hidden from themselves how magical they are and the potential that they have, and how the creator sees them as perfect and divine and never judges ever. It doesn't matter what the lifetime of shadow was that we lived. We've all had equal light and equal shadow lifetimes, and the creator recognizes them as equally valuable. The creator's not up there judging. And so really, you know, seeing yourself in the full truth of yourself isn't anything to be afraid of. It's really that you're going to see how unbelievably incredible you are. That's why when the end of the first session, we'd take the wings out. You know, Metatron always has me do that because it's empowering for people. And it helps you to remember somewhere in there who you really are. So, yeah. That's also that Jupiter-Neptune square. Jupiter is truth. Okay. And then we have harmonic resolution. Negativity, anger, and transmutation. Mars and Cancer. The need to acknowledge some of the lower level emotions, hidden negativity, frustration, and confusion that may be a factor right now. Release any unfocused and distracting mental chatter. Breathe deeply and diffuse excessive mental and emotional energies to regain your balance. You may also have attracted people in your life who are operating from lower vibrations, and you need to disconnect from this. Harmonic resolution resonates to the thickness and heaviness of the lower dimensions. This can cause disturbance and scattering of energies, and over-identification with emotions of frustration, anger, isolation, and confusion, which disrupts the auric field. Divine light codes transmute these emotions, diffusing and disarming lower emotional states, and return the auric field to harmony, peace, and serenity. So when I'm having that, like, I'm trying to remember I think it was when Mercury was in Pisces, that I saw, like, in the colors around me, which, you know, it varies. It's not always the same. But I saw the way that they show me the friction and the energy is sort of like black lines of static going through the aura. And so you can ask that to be transmuted. You can ask the creator to remove any disharmonious energies in your space, within you or around you. Okay. You can ask Metatron, you can ask the creator, you can ask Jesus, you can ask Mother Mary. But yeah, and then just taking the deep breath in through the nose. And as you go into the root chakra, witnessing the blue ray coming through all of you, okay, and all of the waters of your body, and just flushing that all into the earth, okay, watching it all just dissolve into the earth from the earth star. That's another way to get rid of disharmonious aspects. You just ask that anything disharmonious in your space or around you be transmuted, and that will happen. And that was a lot that we've all been going through with Mars in Gemini, and that'll be going on until the 17th, where he's out of bounds and he's in the mind. It's Gemini. A lot of times, too, when you wake up in the morning and you just can't stop having negative thoughts. And I can't really explain that because it's always different. But, you know, there's a lot of times that we're traveling around out there and we're picking all kinds of stuff up, and you wake up in the morning and you just don't think about it. But that's a lot of times what that is. When you wake up and you just can't get the negative out of your head, then most likely something happened in sleep time that you're unaware of. And so you could just ask for that to be transmuted. And then we have awakening. Ancient knowledge, memories, connection. You may be remembering your ancient wisdom or other ancient knowledge from other civilizations. An important connection will be forthcoming to assist you. Memories of past lifetimes and recalling spontaneous wisdom may be upcoming. So be prepared for the coming expansion of the mind. You are awakening to the truth of your origins. You have all the tools you need to see the truth in your situation. I feel like that's got a lot to do with that Mercury moving into Gemini. And also, Scorpio rules the occult too. So, ancient practices that we all did before the traditional religions that we, are the ones that we see now as traditional religions. There were a lot of religions before the ones that are out there now. So, and we all practiced those as well and found them effective. So, those kind of things coming back to you and being able to remember, and maybe some of that will take place in dream time. But I think with these expansions and upgrades that we've all gone through, that's probably part of that story, and that's why he's including it. So, yeah. And then right after that, we've got the Neptune-Jupiter square coming up. Remember, Neptune is sleep too. So, I don't know. I keep saying, like, what could it be? The sleepiness. But I really think that it's our upgrades and expansions and just that we're integrating all of that because it's tiring. Anyway, so, and everybody can't be having the same transit. I mean, we do in a way, but when it's something that's making us sleepy, then you look at Neptune, and he's kind of, he's not really touching too many people out there, too many other planets, except Jupiter. And then Saturn coming up, too. But I don't think that that's making us tired, and that just started. So, yeah, it's been going on for a while for people. So, yeah, take it easy, everybody. Be kind to your body. I feel like our physical bodies are we really need to be pushing the self-care routines. Like mine, you can see I'm walking out in the woods every day because I have tan lines. Even though it's not even warm yet, I still have tan lines. But anyway, everybody, I will have that class up by the end of the month for sure. I know. I mean, I feel a lot of pressure to get it done too, and I know a lot of people are messaging me and wanting to know what's going on. I just haven't had the time. So anyway, everyone, I hope that you're all hanging in there okay and that everybody is doing well. And I hope this video that you find it helpful, especially with the reading from Metatron. So everybody take care, and I will speak to you probably in about a week and a half. Okay? All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.